Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Evie. So here we are in tech
Here we are.
heaven, or not.
Yes, one more time recorded, unfortunately, for all the people that are expecting to see this live. Anyway, hopefully next week. I keep promising that every week now. We're going to go live. We are going to get an IT person to help us out. I think we have come to the conclusion that this is the way forward. So yeah, bear with us, but we're still here, right, Yvonne? We're still here recording this and sharing.
Absolutely. Come what may, there will always be a recording, if not a live, for you to tune into. And the tech is tech. If you are great with it, and I mean, fully on board, fantastic. And I mean, we've been pretty good with our tech for the longest time, but sometimes systems change and you just have to kind of test it out. And if it's not working, go back and retest and play around. We'll get there. We'll get
Yeah.
there. We just didn't get there this week. So, with that said, with that said, Evie, thank you so much for your patience in trying to get everything together to make it function. And again, we will do our best to make sure it's there for next week. In the meantime, though, we're going to focus on this week's topic. So here we are, permission to thrive, myth busting, looking at some of those phrases, the narratives, the stories that perhaps we have been telling ourselves and that have been literally controlling parts of how we show up, what we say, what we don't say, what we do, what we don't do, what we think and feel. And the real purpose of this is not to then judge ourselves when we suddenly realize, oh well, I've been doing that and now I'm a bad person, or that's really awful. Here I am in the middle of my life. How could I still be doing that? It's about recognizing, it's about just noticing and recognizing. And actually, I would say initially doing nothing, just becoming aware of where does it show up? When does it show up? Before even thinking, okay, how can I reframe that? How can I change that? What is a better positioning for me? All of those things I think come, but I think for me, recognizing it has definitely got to be numero uno. And I'm going to hand over to you, Evie, because change is your thing. So tell us a
So
bit
it
about the
is.
title.
Yeah, I was thinking that okay, it is quite good that we have this topic this week with all the change that we are facing with our tech and how it has affected us. It is not like relevant or too relevant, but yeah, this is what it is. Change always happens and it's the only constant, and we have to go with it because otherwise we are only going to end up feeling anxious, feeling that resistance and moving against anything cannot be anything but uncomfortable. So for our tech, going back to that, I still cannot get that out of my mind. Is yeah, let's go with it. We'll find solutions. Today's topic is the change resistance, and it is something that we all face a lot of the times in our lives, because the
Yes.
only thing that really is happening in everybody's life, no matter who they are, what their age is, what their gender is, whatever their persuasion is, whatever, is change. And change is the only constant. And the more you resist change, the harder your life becomes. And the first phrase that you will hear sometimes is that, oh, this is just how I am. What does that mean, really? Because if you just cling into that's how I am narrative, it means that there is absolutely no place for growth. And that is only your judge telling you that you cannot change, or you cannot go with change because it's uncomfortable, because you're going to get out of your comfort zone, and therefore you're not supposed to go anywhere. Just stay where you are. And of course, there are reasons behind this, because we like familiarity, like humans. We like being within our comfort zone. We like not having that. It's not just change. It's like anything that pushes us a bit out of the regular feels like it's not me, and it is that one thing that we need to just accept and go with, in order to explore and to see the possibility. The constant resistance of whatever that change is. And I know some changes are not happy changes.
Mm.
The only thing they will do is like stop you from growing, stop you from going wherever you want to go. But yeah, how has this showed up in your world?
Yeah. So when I think about change, for me, what comes up is that resistance is really about, like you were saying, protecting what's familiar. Because I know what this is, whatever this is, whether it's good or bad, but I know what this is. It's familiar to me, and therefore I feel safe. Even if it's unsafe, I feel safe because it's what I know. So what's on the other side, if this thing happens, if this event happens, if this person comes in, or what is that? How will that impact me? And that kind of almost, now I'm outside of feeling safe, and I don't like it. This is what I feel probably comes up some of that time, is just that this doesn't feel safe. And then if it doesn't feel safe, why would I put myself in that position? I'm just so much better off just being here. But I think there's two things with that. One, you know, unless you absolutely fight to stay where you are, you'll never stay where you are, because just as you said, change is inevitable. So if you don't kind of embrace it and kind of trust what might be on the other side of it, then change will come. It may go in a completely different direction, but change will still occur. There is kind of no avoiding the change. And I think sometimes it's about, I know you said that, change doesn't always come from, good circumstances or happy circumstances. And yet sometimes, and I don't say this lightly, but sometimes from the most dire situations and necessary changes comes good.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
not saying that happens every single time, but it does sometimes happen. So again, our ability to not grip so hard on that resistance, like, I'll hold on for dear life for this not to change, is actually just to loosen that grip and to perhaps think about, what might this mean for me? I don't know, because there's the certainty is removed. That in essence is the hardest bit. Certainty is removed, so you're faced with uncertainty. What does that mean to me? Now, our automatic kind of pathways generally is the what if, and then we always think about the worst possible scenarios that tie in
Oh
with
yeah.
that, and not the what if. What if this allows me to evolve into X, Y, and Z? How often do we go to that and really explore what that might mean? And actually, we can look at both of those. We can look at the worst scenario, but we can also look at the best and just say, you know, do I trust what might be on the other side? I don't know. But if I'm willing to trust myself, I'm willing to trust the process, let's see. Let me be willing to explore and see where that lands.
Yeah, definitely. And there is a fantastic metaphor when it comes to change. Um, like it's like a surfing metaphor, and it's like how, like, you never really resist the wave. You just go with the wave, and you end up like really riding the wave, rather than being tumbled under the wave, like as if you are in a washing machine, and like, or even, you know um, get injured because you are resisting the wave. So I think this is the best way to describe going with the flow, with change, because no matter what happens, if you're not resisting, you will get somewhere. And we have always said every type of scenario that you find yourself in, even if it is not a favorable one, it always has a gift or opportunity in it. And if you just allow for this to show in your life and accept that, then life becomes much lighter, and you can see it in a more like a relaxed kind of way. And when we are relaxed and when we do go with the flow, we do get, like, we do allow change to happen without being super controlling, then things evolve, and they evolve in an acceptable way. And the other thing is that you did mention it, Yvonne, like change always happens anyway. And if we keep insisting on going against change, it will change anyway, and it will change to something, or because of circumstances, or because of somebody else. So again, we have given up our ability to go with the change, to even if there is like a morsel of possibility for us to affect change, now we have given that up. So this is why I think it's better if we do accept that change will come. Let's do the best we can with it, rather than just saying, no, I'm not having this.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because I still hear quite often, I don't like change. That's something that I hear a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like change. And because, when change arrives, things around me change, yes, that's change. That's also evolving. That's
Yeah.
also becoming. That's also revealing. It's important. It's an important part of our humanity, is that we are open to like expanding through the change. That does not mean to say that it will always be easy, it will always be favorable circumstances. There is nothing of that is guaranteed in the moment. But I remember posting a little bit about this the other day, and somebody said, quite often the gold is what you see in hindsight.
Mm.
At that point of having to embrace, accept, go with the change, that uncertainty can create anxiousness, can create a sense of fear, can create lots of those things. And dare I say that that's relatively normal. I think a lot, depending on what the change is and how big that impact might be, that is relatively normal. So for me, I always think it's when I'm faced with change every single day, but some changes are noticeable and some are less so in the immediate. It's two things for me. What if this leads me to? So that for me is like, what if this leads me to? So for me, there's always a degree of joy and excitement that goes with my thinking. And if it's a situation that feels quite heavy, even, I'm like, maybe going through this will allow this to occur, or will give me greater insights or experiences. I don't know with certainty. I couldn't put money on it as an absolute, but I will go with the trust that I have that actually I've lived X amount of years through certainty and uncertainty, and here I am. So I'm willing and open to see what unfolds next.
And you see, this is it. It's like, it's not like we have never had uncertainty in our lives. If anything, if we look back, most of us, like at any moment in time in our lives, we live in uncertainty. I mean, you think you are in control of your life. You think you are certain where your day is going to take you, but that's not necessarily the case. And what I say to people that are feeling like they say, oh, I'm, I'm scared of change, or I
Mm,
don't want change, is like, think back to moments that change did happen without maybe you wanting to, or and how have these moments brought you to this particular moment that we're speaking now. So when you look at change that happened, you realize that it's not that hard. It's actually part of life, part of how we move forward. It, there are people that change homes every so often, that change countries every so often, that
yeah.
change positions every so often. There are people that had to deal with change because of personal circumstances, of loss. And yes, all of change is not of the fabulous thing that everybody would have to strive for. But the thing is that we do live with an uncertainty. We are very resilient, and most of us cannot recognize actually how resilient we are and how much we can adapt and adjust to anything that comes our way. It's just that we have that myth in our head that, oh, this is my comfort zone and I can't really step my foot out of it because that's not me. Or I've always done it this way, or what have you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think this easily takes us to the next phrase, which is change is too hard. Well, change is too hard if you resist it, as we said. If you don't resist it, I mean, look back at different types of changes in your life, and really you can put a list down and say, okay, this was hard, this was easy, and you will see that most change is not hard.
Yeah, I would actually, we had a really nice comment when I posted about this on Tuesday, and Laurie was saying that real change happens through one small choice at a time, not some dramatic overnight shift. That truth gets lost in how change is usually talked about. Because
Yeah.
again, when we talk about change, it's like, oh, it's this massive life-changing moment and something dramatic and it's big, and everything is suddenly like a whole new world. No, this is why we're saying that change happens every day. Whether you notice it or not, there are changes happening all the time, and they're often small and incremental. And actually, it's that conversation that you had when normally you would say this, but actually this time you said that. That's change. That's a change. And that will possibly influence the outcome of whatever that conversation was about. So it's just about noticing that change is occurring for me, it's occurring all the time. Um, can change be hard? Of course, in those big situations, in those really life-altering, perhaps, changes, they can be. Again, it's about how do I approach that? How do I approach that so it doesn't overwhelm me, so that it feels so hard. It feels so uncomfortable because that's where the resistance, I think, for change really comes through when we perceive it to be this big, difficult, challenging thing. And I have no idea how to handle it. I have no idea how to go about it. And that brings me to another comment that we had because by Judith, and she was saying, I found that when we shift our perspective, change can also become an adventure, which I love. An opportunity to discover new parts of ourselves, new possibilities, and a future we may never have imagined before. What a wonderful lens to use for change, as opposed to it's dark, it's hard, it's miserable, it's going to drain me. Again, it's a little bit of what we tie to it. What are we
Yeah.
tying to it? And that will obviously impact the experience we have of it.
Yeah, it is perspective. That's all there is to it at the end of the day. Yes, there are those altering moments that we can all look back and see, but there are uh, also, like as you said, like everyday things that change things. How many times have you, I don't know, gone shopping to find something that or meet somebody and then change the whole way that your day is going? I mean, that wasn't a hard change, was it? It you never know, or somebody, you know, called you out of the blue, and something else happened that you were not anticipating in your day, because we have this tendency of like you know, planning and having that full thing or map that we're going to follow. But, and I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, on the contrary, it's just that none of this should be rigid, none of this should be like it either happens this way or no other way, because really we don't know how things will unfold for us, and where these things are going to take us.
Mm.
There are so many outcomes that we can think of that eventually are going to take us to that one goal that we might have. But there are a lot of different avenues that we can take to get there. So we can't really be rigid or be so precious with one thing, one way that we want things to go, um, because in essence we are like robbing ourselves from the possibility, and doing that we're also making ourselves like feeling very, very badly for no absolutely reason, no absolute, you know, like any real reason. um that's, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so what I'm hearing as you're speaking is that, what happens when we become very rigid, change has got to happen and it has to happen. If it's going to happen, and it has to happen this way. There's something about what I was in my head, all I could see was kind of like the lens of life just getting narrower and narrower, and and so it's here, and this is it. When actually, when we say, change is coming, whether I have chosen it or not, it's coming. What are all the possibilities? So for me, how do I widen that lens? What are all the possible
Yeah,
outcomes? Um, some may be ones that I'd love, some may be ones that I would not love, some may be, neither here nor there. But I want to see the picture, and I want to be open to that, and I want to trust for the best, and hope for the best. And actually, for me, again, when you were speaking, what came up for me was like that sense of wonderment, like having more sense of wonderment, like, wow, just as Judith was saying about an adventure. Oh, wonder what this could lead to. Having that kind of perspective. Now, don't get me wrong, that does not necessarily sit in the moment. I know, like 22 years ago when I was made redundant, I was not sitting in wonderment. I wasn't. And even though I wanted to leave that job, being made redundant was like, then it was forced on me to leave the job. And then I was in a place of complete uncertainty. I had no idea what I wanted to do. It was incredibly uncomfortable. However, I after a week of, kind of wallowing in whatever that was, whatever felt good at the time. And I don't take that away, because that's what I felt I needed. I need to just wallow in the loss of all of the things that go with things like redundancy. But a week later, it's like, okay, so what can I do today? And then it was just one day at a time. And now, 22 years on, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so thankful for the day that I was made redundant. I'm just like, oh, that was a blessing. I didn't even know it was until, it was maybe 5, 10 years later that I thought, oh, what a blessing that was. Couldn't have asked for a better thing to happen. So that sense of adventure, joy, the wonderment, you may not experience it in the moment when the change is occurring, and that's okay. But rather than resisting it, which becomes a fight, which also for me is about how that impacts your nervous system, how it impacts your cortisol level, how it impacts your ability to sleep and to function, that becomes a thing too. So now you're not just facing the change that perhaps you're resisting, you're also facing all this other stuff that's going on with your body, the physical, the mental, the emotional, because you're resisting with so much force.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And the thing is that when we are like more open to change, we sort of become a little bit lighter as well, and we don't tag um, situations and things that are happening. Because we have that tendency, like, oh, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good. And how do you know? Because you don't know really. We have that tendency of like foreseeing something that whatever has happened, and it's now that's a good thing. How do you know? Because maybe that will lead to something that is not that good, or you don't even know that maybe we don't have the bigger picture. And if you don't have the bigger picture, you cannot really resist to what's coming in your life, because every single thing that comes in our lives create that big, I don't know how do you call it, like the big painting that is our life. That every single change, every single thing that we've done, we said, all this create who we are, our world, and how we choose to show up. So, in my opinion, change is here to stay. Nothing is going to change that. So the more the lighter we take on change, the better it's going to be. And if we really want to be nice to ourselves, I think we should be more open to change, and be prepared. And not prepared like, oh my God, I have to mitigate everything, and I don't, because that is another saboteur
Mm,
telling you other things. But like, be prepared that change is going to happen, and okay, we are resilient, we can, and we have the tools, and all of them are inside us to deal with change, even the worst of change. And
yeah.
I know, and I'm not saying that lightly, we've all had some sort of bad change that we wish it wouldn't happen, right? But even that, we have the means to to go with, to really survive it and move on. And a lot of us also use this bad change to create something wonderful. So yeah,
Yeah.
things will not change, so we better.
And I think going back to that, change is too hard. It is a little bit of, kind of sitting, why do I feel that change is too hard? What is it? What is underneath that for me? So, asking yourselves, and is it that you're anticipating struggle? Are you anticipating it's going to be difficult? It's going to uproot everything else? What is it that's underneath that? And then like be willing to step into the change where you get to control the bits that you can by just what are the small steps that I can do so that this doesn't just feel like it's pulling me away and I have no say or whatever in it whatsoever. What are the little things? Because for me that's all about just growing gently, because change allows us to grow. I look to nature all the time and I'm like, look at the seasons. Winter strips everything bare, spring comes, colour starts to come back, summer comes, it's bold, it's full, autumn comes, and it just begins to just calm back down. That's change. We have a system inbuilt that
Mhm.
allows us to flow through change. And so the less we brace from it, the more we can embrace it.
Mhm. Absolutely. That's so beautiful. Yes, for sure. So
Yeah,
I think
sit with
with
it.
that, I can say, yeah, like exactly, like sit with it. Give yourself the space to like um to work with this in your mind. See what that brings up for you. Huh?
Yeah. And I think, like you said earlier, you know, that taking this moment to pause and really notice all the change that you've been through to date. Just notice, and some of it may be welcome, some of it not. Some of it may lead to brilliant things, some of it may not. And yet all of it has more likely than not caused you to grow, whatever way.
Hmm.
And that is the gold. After my redundancy, everything did not go smoothly. Everything was not a bed of roses. It absolutely wasn't. But every single year on year, there was growth. There was a new understanding of myself, of other people, of the world around me. 100%. But I had to be open to that to see it and experience it. So that is the other part. When we're in resistance, then we're not open to it. So we have to
No.
just, am I going to keep on resisting or am I going to be open to it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I think that there isn't anything better than a blank sheet of paper because that's where you can write a new story, and we can
Yes.
write a new story every time a change happens. So, yeah, just play with it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And with
And of course,
that,
we want to hear your thoughts. What have been your experiences of change, whether they have been the small changes, those daily changes, or life altering changes. What have they been? And as you look back at them, what have you learnt? What have been the lessons? How might they have shifted the way that you show up in life now, or the way you treat life now, the relationships you have in life now? What are all of those things? Because for me, change doesn't happen for zero reason.
mhm,
And sometimes even like the hardest changes, or what are perceived to be the hardest changes, are really to cut away all the bleep to get to the gold, right?
yep,
And I really kind of feel that, and that's on a personal note. So yeah, just be willing to explore and then share with us what's come up for you and what you would take away and what you would say to somebody who perhaps is struggling with change. What might be the words that you would choose to support them or to encourage them to explore, to change their mind? That's for them to do, but to encourage them to explore.
yeah. And with
Awesome.
that,
Wonderful. Evie, as always, thank you so much.
you too, Yvonne. Let's
And
hope
thank you.
next time it's going to be live. If it's not, we'll still be here, recorded.
One way or another.
Yep. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you so much. And for anyone watching this on replay, thank you so much. Your presence and your comments are welcomed. Thank you.